In this video help, I'm going to be covering separately the property tenant screen from the property management screen. Keep in mind that we're talking about the property or properties that we want to add a tenant to. Now, when you go to the property tenant screen, it is a parent screen. We're going to go there. If you go to it and there's already a record that is existing when you go to it that is not the property that you're interested in identifying as far as adding a tenant, what you would do is go to the Do Action and then Add a New Record. That will empty all the fields in this area and down below here, so you can add a new tenant record in here. Now, when you're adding a new tenant record, you type in the name of the tenant and then pick the property that you were going to add the client to or the tenant. A lot of this information will pop in as far as the information from the apartment, or if there's a unit or a single family household or whatever. And then you would add the occupancy date of when this unit was going to be occupied by this new tenant. You'd put the term of the lease. In this case, it could be a rental as well. It could be a 1 month, a 6 month, or whatever, or a year lease or whatever. The lease termination date would be the date that is 1 year from the date in this case, which is a drop down. You would add that. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take tenant prior information. This is a tenant that's coming to you that you do not know anything about in depth. You're going to want to take their prior last address that they were at, the city or town where they were prior at, the town or county, the state or province, the zip code or postal, the country, and the number of tenants that are going to be in the resident with them. If it's a family or whatever the size is, you could actually, in this case, put 2 adults, 3 children, or whatever. This is important information as far as who is going to be in the dwelling with that person or whoever's signing the lease. There's the tenant first phone 1 and 2, and this could be the husband and wife, or as far as the spouse is concerned, the spouse's phones. And then you would come over and then add whatever notes you want to on this side that are related to the occupancy of this tenant. Now, it is highly recommended, depending upon where you're located, to use this information to run a credit check. You really need to be aware that if you run a credit check, you're going to have the permission of the tenant. You cannot just run a report randomly for anybody. So you need to get their permission and have a signature. That should be on a separate document where you have them sign a piece of paper that says that they have your permission and their permission. Actually, it's their permission to run a credit check. Why would you do a credit check? Well, it's very likely that you're going to run into tenants that are looking for residence or a lease, and they have a prior record of damages or other things that are related to not paying payments on time or whatever, and that should be reflected by their credit report. If you see that the person and their credit report show a bad tenant record for history paying their bills, then you certainly do not want to add that tenant to your residence. So that information would come up and be placed over here. This is a good way to manage the information. If this tenant ever came back and said that they were being discriminated against for whatever reason, because you would not lease to them, you would have the credit report and should keep a copy on file as a backup to explain why you did not lease or rent the property to that person. There is a report that goes with this screen as far as reporting of the expenses and things based on the tenant, and the information that's added here on the monthly expenses that they're paying to you for being in the residence. In this particular case, if you look at this, it has the tenant name that you're going to pull from a drop-down. You're going to put in the date from a drop-down as far as the billing date, the date that the bill is due, the date that they actually paid the bill, the amount that they were due, the amount that they paid, and then this will automatically calculate the balance as far as what is remaining if they didn't pay the full bill. It could be early enough where the entire amount is over there and unpaid. If you have a situation where there is a fee that is going to be charged to a client for damages, There's two places where you need to make that entry. One here, as far as what the damages are, include a property manager damage report and the costs in that particular screen that shows that the tenant was charged for those particular items. And what you'd want to do in that case is come over and then run an additional entry in here with a note that says on a certain date when they were inspected, or you went over there, that there was tenant caused damage and the fees to replace, repair, or do whatever services are required in order to repair it. For example, if they have children, maybe the children threw something through a window and broke a window, then that would be a cost to the client that would be listed on his monthly expenses and also indicated by the manager in the manager report, where he took pictures of the damage and also indicated the charges for that in that manager's report. There is a portal. We'll cover these separately, but there's a portal if you need to edit this particular screen. And let's go just for the heck of it and go over there and look at that. It basically is not a lot of information, but within this screen you can do a do action where if you had to, you could delete that particular record if you wanted to. But if you need to do that, make sure that you delete it in the portal and not in the actual record itself. So let's go back to the tenant record using the drop down. And in the tenant record, you'll see that the information shows the tenant actual information for selection and the property as far as that particular information is concerned. If you click on the blue field here, what you'll do is you'll see that it automatically changes to the record, so you can see that particular record that you're looking for. Now keep in mind that there is a property tenant list view, and the list view will be covered separately, but the list view is a listing of all the tenants that you have and all the properties where they're located, and you can go from that screen on the list view to any one of the records similar to you can on this particular select list. You can use the find in this record, but you cannot do finds in the portal records below here. You have to go actually to the portal record and make your find in that portal record. Portals are multi-line records, and they cannot be used to do a find within all these records. So it has to be done in the individual portal record. I will cover the report separately and show you how to use the report in order to manage the information that you have here. That should include the ability to send a report out to the tenant showing his billing history if there's a past due, or you want to do a monthly statement and send out a statement of a bill to that particular client as far as the billing history. There are IDs both on the main property screen and on this screen. If you click on them, you'll see that they cannot be edited. You do not edit at any time. You never change these on here. This is the identification for the property itself, the property record that was created in this screen for that tenant. Every time you add a new record, it's going to cycle this number, and that can actually be, if you had to, you can do a find. If you know what the number is, you can do a find which allows you to add the number for that particular tenant into here. You can do that, although easier, if you take a look at the list view and go from the list view where it does show the information for the tenant and the property. As with all the other screens, if you have any questions or you need additional assistance, you can get in contact with me on the chat line on the support site, or you can send me an email. Thank you.